All right, deputies, can you all hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you all ready?
1 second. They're still lining. 1 second. We're ready, Your Honor.
All right. All right, good morning, everyone. It is 11:04 a.m. Today is January 13th of 2024, and we are now streaming live here on YouTube. My name is Judge Marcus Thorpe, and I am one of the magistrate court judges presiding over this morning's calendar.
Your
If at
Honor?
any point, yes, Ms. Toles, I understand as it relates to the individuals, the Spanish speakers. I usually, as we've done in the past, just will do them separately after we go through it.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Again, my name is Judge Marcus Thorpe, and I am one of the magistrate court judges here presiding over this morning's calendar. If at any point anyone has trouble hearing me, please let me know, as there are a few things that we'll need to go over with you prior to the start of the calendar. Please listen carefully, as it will help you better understand the nature and purpose of today's proceeding. First, let me say I'm not here to try your case, to take a plea, or have any legal discussions with you about the specific facts of your case. The purpose of this first appearance hearing is to inform you of the charges against you, advise you of certain rights, set bonds on those offenses for which the court is authorized to set bond on, and to schedule a preliminary hearing to determine whether you require the assistance of counsel as well. Now, as we go through this information, ladies and gentlemen, there's some things I need you to remember. First and foremost is you have the right to remain silent. Please, as I'm speaking to you, do not attempt, again, to tell me specifics about your case or any legal defense that you may have. As I said earlier, we are streaming live. There are individuals around you, not only other people that are in custody, but the people who are on this call, as well as the deputies who you may become witnesses if you say the wrong thing. Because anything you say during this proceeding can and will be used against you in a later proceeding. During this proceeding and all others, you also have the right to a presumption of innocence. You have the right to an indictment by grand jury for felonies or by accusation for misdemeanors. You have the right to a speedy and public trial by jury, to compel the attendance of witnesses to testify on your behalf, to see, hear, and question witnesses who are called to testify against you, to testify on your own behalf or offer evidence in your own defense, and to have an attorney represent you if you cannot afford one, whereas then I will then appoint you one either here or by another judge during the course of your matter being open. And then lastly, you also, for those of you all who are not a citizen, please let me tell you there are some charges that may adversely affect your immigration status. And if that is the case, you will need to consult an immigration attorney to discuss those matters. Now, as I first inform each of you about your charge, I then will also advise you of what your bond is, what it will take for you to be released while your case is pending. Now, some of you here today may be allowed to post what are called unrestricted bonds for your release from jail pending the prosecution of your case. These bonds may be posted in 3 ways. You can do it in cash by paying the entirety of the bond that I will tell you. You can do it in commercial, which is the use of a bonding company, or through property, which is the use of a piece of property and the need for a deed to that property. Now, if you post a cash bond, you will need someone or either yourself will need to deliver the full amount of the bond in cash with any fees that the sheriff's office will charge, where they will then hold it until your final court date. At the conclusion of your case and all court dates, your cash will be returned to the person who posted it. Now, as an example that I like to use, If you are charged with battery, family violence, and I tell you your bond is $6,000, then either you or someone you know may then bring that in cash along with any fees that the sheriff's office charges to get your release until your case is closed. Now, if you don't have the full bond amount in cash, you can also use what is called a commercial bonding company. Usually, when you work with bonding, ask for anywhere from 12 to 15% of the bond for their service. If you use a bonding company, the fee that you pay them will not be returned to you. And so again, the example that I've used, if you're charged with a family violence, I tell you your bond is $6,000. Please expect that you'll have to pay somewhere between about $700 to $750. That will not be returned to you. The final way to post bond while your case is pending is through a property bond. Now, you may use a property bond as long as there is equity in that property of at least 3 times the amount of your bond. And so again, the example is, if your bond is $6,000, you will need someone that has at least 3 times 6, which would be $18,000 in equity in their property. They would need to bring a copy of their deed down to the sheriff's office, where the sheriff will hold it again until your case is completely closed. Now, each of you will have as a condition of your bond that you are not to violate any laws while out on bond, if you so are able to make your bond. However, some of you will have additional special conditions that will prohibit you from contacting certain people or going to certain places. If you have what I will call a no contact provision on your bond, this means you are to stay away and have no contact with the alleged victim. You may not call, text, email, write a letter to, or contact through any social media platform. You can't even do something nice for that person, such as sending them flowers or writing a nice song, because that would be a violation of your bond that I'm going to give you here today. The example that I use, if you are charged with family violence and I tell you you're to stay away from the alleged victim, being your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, or wife, you are to stay away from that person, to not contact them at all. Now, there may be situations where I tell you, some of you all here today, to not return to a particular location. That means you cannot go back to that location for any reason. If you lived at that residence with the other person prior to your being arrested, remember, if you're released, I will advise you, you can go back to that residence so long as you are accompanied by someone from the sheriff's office within 10 days of your release. Otherwise, again, you are not permitted to return. Now, if you do violate your bond order, please keep in mind that the court, that you will be subject to additional fines and fees. Any violation could bring you back into custody and then subject you to what we call an aggravated stalking charge, which is a felony charge, or influencing a witness, which can carry up to 20 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. Now, lastly, ladies and gentlemen, before we take our oath and begin, I want to speak to you about a preliminary hearing. A preliminary hearing, for those of you charged with felonies, you automatically will get one so long as you remain in. Hearing is where yourself will be present, the judge is there, the police officer is there, and they're there to present evidence about what they believe they have in order for your case to move forward to the prosecutor. Now, there are certain circumstances in which your case can be dismissed at that stage, and then it'll either be indicted or accused by a prosecutor, or your case will close. If you're charged with a misdemeanor, you have an option to have that hearing. Again, if you make your bond, that hearing is automatically waived and you'll be out. But if you don't, I will ask you as you come up individually and you're charged with a misdemeanor, whether or not you want to have that hearing, and you'll need to advise me whether you want to have it or to waive it, and I will send your case immediately up to the prosecutor, and it does cause your case to move somewhat faster. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if I could have everyone please raise their right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the information that you're about to give to this court, as well as any information you've provided on your application for court-appointed counsel, is true and correct? And if so, say I do. All right, I can't hear them in the back. Can you all say I do? Deputy, did they say it? Because I can't hear it.
That's affirmative.
Okay, all right. You may all lower your hands. All right, so Ms. Toll, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. I can hear you.
Okay, so if I could have you raise your right hand.
Y'all stay right here. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you swear or affirm that the information that you provide to here in today's court appearance, that you will truthfully and correctly interpret from English to Spanish and then from Spanish to English?
I do, Your Honor.
All right. All right. Good morning, gentlemen.
Buenos días, señores.
My name is Judge
morning.
Marcus. My name is Judge Marcus Thorpe, and I'm here for your first appearance for each of you this morning.
Yo soy el juez Marcus Thorpe y estoy acá para llevar a cabo su comparecencia inicial para cada uno de ustedes esta mañana.
Now, I'm going to talk to you each of individually about what you've been charged with and how much your bond will be.
Voy a hablar con cada uno de ustedes individualmente sobre de qué se le ha acusado y de cuánto va a ser la fianza.
For some of you, you may have additional conditions on your bond that I will describe and explain to you as well.
Posiblemente algunos de ustedes tendrán condiciones adicionales con la fianza, las cuales les voy a explicar también.
But most importantly, gentlemen, please, as I talk to you individually, please do not discuss with me the facts of your case. I am just here to advise you what you've been charged with, how much your bond is, and whether you will be able to make bond. And then lastly, any upcoming court dates.
Pero de suma importancia, por favor, cuando yo empiece a darles la información, no intenten darme los detalles o hechos específicos de su caso. Solamente estamos aquí para que yo les informe de qué se le ha acusado, de cuánto sería la fianza, si va a poder salir bajo fianza y hablar de sus posibles audiencias futuras.
In the meantime, gentlemen, please remember that you do have rights.
Mientras tanto, señores, acuérdense que ustedes tienen derechos.
You have the right to a presumption of innocence.
Tienen el derecho a la presunción de inocencia.
You have the right to an indictment by a grand jury for a felony or accusation for a misdemeanor.
Tiene derecho a la presentación de cargos de delitos mayores por parte del gran jurado o de acusaciones por delitos menores.
You have a right to a speedy and public trial by jury.
Tienen el derecho a un juicio público y sin demora con un jurado.
You have a right to compel the attendance of witnesses to testify on your own behalf.
Tienen el derecho a exigir la presencia de testigos para que declaren a su favor.
You have the right to see, hear, and question witnesses who are called to testify against you.
Tienen el derecho a ver, a escuchar, interrogar a los testigos que se presentan a declarar en contra suya.
You have the right to testify on your own behalf or offer evidence in your own defense.
Tienen el derecho a declarar a nombre suyo o presentar pruebas en su defensa.
You have the right to have an attorney represent you, and if you can't afford one, I can appoint you one if you qualify here today.
Tienen el derecho a ser representado por un abogado. Si no tuvieran los medios para contratar un abogado, se le asignará un abogado si es que cumple los criterios.
Also, if any of you are not citizens, there are some charges that could adversely affect your immigration status. And so if and when you are released on your case, please consult with an immigration attorney.
Además, si no tuvieran la ciudadanía estadounidense, hay algunos cargos que pudieran tener un efecto negativo en su estatus migratorio. Entonces, cuando salgan en libertad, por favor, consulten con un abogado de migración.
Okay. Now, if I could have each of you raise your right hand.
Sí, les puedo pedir, por favor, que levanten la mano derecha.
Do you all swear or affirm that the information that you've provided on the documents and the information you will provide to me will be the truth and only the truth? And if so, please say I do.
Protestan o afirman que la información que dieron en la documentación y también la información que me van a dar ahora es la verdad y toda la verdad. Yes.
All right. So if I could have up first, I believe, is it a Mr. Marín Luis Vasquez?
Si el señor Marín Luis Vázquez puede pasar adelante, por favor.
All right. Are you Mr. Vasquez?
¿Es usted el señor Vázquez? Yes.
All right. Mr. Vasquez, you are charged with one count of theft by taking and one count of criminal trespass.
Muy bien, señor Vázquez. Se le ha imputado un cargo de hurto de bienes ajenos y un cargo de intrusión ilegal.
Your bond amount for the theft is $5,000 and your bond amount for the criminal trespass is $2,500.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, the bond amount for the theft?
$5,000 and then for the other is $2,500.
Thank you, Your Honor. La cantidad, el monto de la fianza para el hurto es $5,000 y el monto de la fianza para intrusión ilegal es de $2,500.
You will have a special condition, sir, and that is to stay away from 2100 Anvil Block Road.
Usted tiene una condición especial, señor, con la fianza que no vaya más a 2100 de la Anvil Block Road.
All right. Do you have any questions for me, sir?
¿Tiene alguna pregunta para mí, señor?
La última que no le entendí la de ahorita.
The last thing you said, I did not understand that.
The location where this was alleged to have happened, you cannot return there while your case is pending.
El sitio donde se presume que sucedió el incidente, usted no puede regresar ahí mientras siga pendiente su caso.
Okay. Are you working right now, sir?
¿Está trabajando ahora, señor?
No.
No,
Okay.
no.
So I am going to appoint you a court-appointed lawyer to help you on your case, okay?
Entonces, le voy a designar, señor, un abogado de oficio para ayudarle en su caso. ¿Está bien?
Okay.
Okay.
Now, lastly, because you are charged with a misdemeanor, if you are unable to make your bond, you have a right to what is called a preliminary hearing.
Por último, señor, como a usted se le han imputado cargos menores, usted tiene derecho a lo que se llama una audiencia preliminar.
Okay. That hearing, you would be present, the officer and the judge, to go over your case and determine if there is enough evidence for your case to proceed.
En esa audiencia usted estaría presente, el agente de policía y el juez, y así se determinaría si existen suficientes pruebas para que el caso siga adelante.
Now, because you are charged with a felony theft, I need you to know your next court date for that hearing will be February 19th at 8:30 a.m. Via Zoom, like we are today.
Como a usted se le ha imputado cargos graves, le informo que la fecha de su audiencia preliminar es el 19 de febrero a las 8:30 de la mañana por medio de Zoom, igual que esta audiencia de hoy.
Okay. All right, sir. Any other questions for me?
Muy bien, señor. ¿Alguna pregunta más para mí?
Sí, hasta esa fecha voy a estar aquí, quiere decir.
Yes. And so I will be here until that day. Is that what that means?
Unless you are able to pay the amount that I mentioned earlier, the $7,500 in bond to be released, or if you can use a bonding company, you would only need to pay 15% of that amount.
A no ser que usted pueda pagar la cantidad que yo mencioné anteriormente de la fianza de 7,500, o si no cuenta con esa cantidad, puede usar una compañía de fianzas que le cobrará un 15% de la fianza.
¿Cuánto es la fianza? Disculpe.
I'm sorry, how much is the bond again?
7,500.
7,500.
7,500.
7,500.
Yes. Sir. All right. Thank you so much, sir. Good luck to you.
Está bien, señor. Muchas gracias y buena suerte, señor.
Okay. Next up, I have Sergio Rodriguez.
¿Qué pasa, Sergio Rodríguez?
Are you Mr. Rodriguez?
¿Es usted el señor Rodríguez?
Sí.
Yes.
All right. So, Mr. Rodriguez, you are charged with one count of improper lane change.
Muy bien, señor Rodríguez. ¿Se le ha imputado una infracción de cambiarse de carril inapropiadamente?
That bond amount is $500.
La fianza para esta infracción es $500
You're charged with one count of DUI.
y un cargo también de manejar bajo los efectos de alcohol.
And that bond is $2,500 for a total of $3,000.
La fianza para esta infracción es $2,500, entonces tiene una fianza total de $3,000.
Are you currently working, sir?
¿Está trabajando, señor, actualmente? Yes.
Okay. How much are you making per month?
¿Y cuánto está ganando al mes, señor?
Como $3,000.
Like $3,000.
Okay. So based on that, sir, I am not going to be able to hire you a lawyer for your case, so you will have to hire your own, okay?
Basándome en eso, señor, yo no voy a poder designarle un abogado para representarlo en su caso. Usted tendría que contratar a su propio abogado.
Okay. Now, lastly, because you are charged with misdemeanors, you have a right to what is called a preliminary hearing, or you can waive that hearing.
Por último, como se le ha imputado cargos menores, usted tiene derecho a lo que se llama la audiencia preliminar, pero usted tiene la opción a renunciar a esa audiencia.
If you want to have that hearing and you don't make your bond, you have a right for you to be there, the judge, and the police officer who arrested you to go over the evidence in your case.
Si usted quiere tener la audiencia y no sale en libertad bajo fianza, tiene derecho a esa audiencia donde usted estaría presente, el juez y el oficial que lo detuvo para repasar el caso.
Or you can tell me, Judge, I don't want to have that hearing. Go ahead and send my case directly to the prosecutor so I can move it along faster.
O usted podría decirme, señor juez, no quiero tener esa audiencia. Por favor, envíe mi caso a la fiscalía para que se pueda tramitar más rápido.
Do you know what you would like to do, sir?
¿Sabe, señor, qué es lo que le gustaría hacer?
No, no quiero la audiencia, quiero salir lo más pronto que pueda.
No, I don't want the hearing. I would like to get out as soon as possible.
Okay. All right. Well, I will show that you waived your hearing here this morning. And so the deputies will have a piece of paper for you to sign. And then, as you know, your bond is $3,000 if you are either able to make it by cash or by the use of a bonding company.
Entonces voy a indicar aquí que usted ha elegido renunciar a su audiencia preliminar. Los alguaciles le van a pasar una renuncia para firmar. Y como usted ya sabe, su fianza se le fija a $3,000. Puede pagarlo en efectivo o a través de una compañía de fianzas.
Una pregunta.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Sí, señor.
¿Mi familia afuera puede pagar la fianza? Porque en realidad yo no tengo dinero aquí.
May my family on the outside pay the bond because I actually don't have money here with me?
Yes, sir. They can bring it for you up here to the sheriff's office, and they can either pay the full amount in cash and they'll hold it until your case is closed, or they can use a bonding company where they would only need 15% of it.
Sí, señor. Ellos pueden llevar el dinero en efectivo aquí a la oficina de los alguaciles, donde ellos retendrán el dinero hasta que el caso quede cerrado. O podrían ir con una compañía de fianzas y pagar solamente el 15%.
Okay. Does that answer your question, sir?
¿Le contesté la pregunta, señor?
Sí.
Yes.
All right. That's all I have for you. So after you sign, sir, good luck to you.
Muy bien, entonces es toda la información que tengo para usted. Después de que firme, ya se puede retirar.
Ms. Tolles, are you able to tell him that the form he's about to sign is for his preliminary hearing waiver?
Yes, ma'am. Señor Rodríguez, el formulario que le está entregando para firmar es la renuncia a la audiencia preliminar.
And deputies, while we're waiting, what is the next person that you have that needed an interpreter? Because that was the only two I saw.
It's 3. Jose?
What's the last name?
Camargo?
Okay. Give me 1 second here. And then deputies, what we'll do, I think there were 2 or 3 females. We will do those first, and then take Mr. Partridge's client, who I believe the last name is Danner, Danner.
I'm clear.
All right, so are you Mr. Camargo?
¿Es usted el señor Camargo?
Mr. Camargo, you're charged with 1 count of driving improperly on a divided highway for a bond of $500.
Señor Camargo, se le imputa una infracción por manejar inapropiadamente en una carretera dividida. La fianza de ese cargo es de $500.
You were charged with driving with no insurance for a bond of $1,000.
Se le imputa de manejar, el cargo de manejar sin seguro de auto, con una, and that bond, Your Honor, was $500, correct?
$1,000.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Thank you. Por una, que tiene una fianza de $1,000.
You are charged with driving with no license for a bond of $1,000.
Se le imputa el cargo de manejar sin licencia y la fianza de ese cargo es de $1,000.
And lastly, you're charged with giving a false name for a bond of $1,000.
Por último, se le ha imputado el cargo de dar un nombre falso. La fianza de ese cargo es de $1,000.
Excuse me, that should be 1,500.
Perdón, es $1,500.
And so your total bond is $3,000.
Entonces la fianza total es de $3,000.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, sir, are you currently working?
Señor, le pregunto, ¿está trabajando actualmente, señor?
Sí, solamente que no es fijo.
The interpreter's going to ask him to repeat, Your Honor. I couldn't hear the last part. He said, sí, solamente qué, señor?
Solamente trabajo días sí, días no.
Yes, Your Honor, but I work some days on and some days I don't work.
What type of work do you do, sir?
¿Qué clase de trabajo hace usted, señor?
Carpintería.
Carpintería?
Carpintería.
Carpentry.
And about how much do you work, or excuse me, how much do you earn per month?
¿Y como cuánto estaría ganando, señor, al mes?
100,
The volume is very low, Your Honor. I'll ask for another repetition. ¿Cuánto dijo?
más o menos 2,800 o 2,900. No es fijo.
2,900?
Ajá.
More or less 2,900.
Okay. Do you have any children?
¿Tiene hijos, señor?
No.
No.
Sir, so you will have to hire your own lawyer if you need assistance on your case, okay?
Entonces, señor, usted tendría que contratar a su propio abogado si quiere que uno le ayude en su caso.
Do you understand?
¿Entiende?
You'll have to speak up.
Tiene que hablar un poco más fuerte, señor.
Sí.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Now, lastly, sir, because you are charged with misdemeanors, you have a right to a hearing where you would be present, the judge, as well as the police officer who arrested you to go over your case. And that's called the preliminary hearing. You can either
Bueno,
have that hearing or waive that hearing.
otra cosa, señor, como a usted se le han imputado delitos menores, usted tiene derecho a una audiencia preliminar donde usted estaría presente, el juez y también el oficial que lo arrestó para repasar su caso. Usted tiene derecho a renunciar a esa audiencia.
Now, sir, if you choose to waive that hearing, what will happen is I will go ahead and send your case directly to the prosecutor for their review, and your case may move a little quicker.
Si usted elige renunciar a esa audiencia, lo que haría yo sería enviar su caso directamente a la fiscalía para que ellos repasen el caso y puede hacer que este caso se tramite un poco más rápido.
Are you aware of what you'd like to do, sir?
¿Sabe, señor, qué es lo que quisiera hacer?
And if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them.
Y si tiene alguna pregunta, por favor, adelante.
Sí, por decir, si voy a la audiencia, ¿cuánto tardaría?
Well, for example, if I have the hearing, how long would that take?
Your hearing won't be for about 30 days, and you're only guaranteed the hearing if you are unable to get out on bond.
La audiencia no será hasta en 30 días y solamente se le garantiza la audiencia si no han salido bajo fianza.
No, entonces mejor digo, si renuncio, salgo ya, confianza.
So it would be better than if I waive, would I just get out now then?
Well, no, sir. You only get out if you're able to make your bond. So that's to pay the amount that I told you. But if you end up staying in, you're entitled to a hearing while you're waiting for your case to move forward.
Bueno, señor, usted solamente sale si paga la cantidad de la fianza que le dije, pero también tiene la opción a renunciar a la audiencia para que el caso siga adelante.
So why don't I do this? I will go ahead and I will set your hearing down. So if you don't make your bond, I can protect you just in case your attorney later wants to have that court date.
Entonces voy a hacer una cosa, ya voy a programar la fecha de la audiencia preliminar para que en caso de no salir bajo fianza, usted siga protegido en caso de que su abogado quiere tener esa audiencia.
Now, if you make your bond, again, you won't have that hearing automatically, and then you'll get your next court.
Y vuelvo a repetir, si sale bajo fianza, entonces automáticamente no tendrá esa audiencia, sino que recibirá la notificación de la siguiente audiencia por correo.
And that court date will be February 20th of 2024 at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom.
Y la fecha de la audiencia sería el 20 de febrero 2024 a las 8:30 de la mañana por medio de Zoom.
¿Podría anotarlo?
Could I write that down?
The deputy should have something to write with it for you there.
Los alguaciles deberían de tener algo con que escribir eso para usted.
I'm clear, Your Honor.
Okay, he was asking for something to write with.
What was the date?
February 20th, 8:30 a.m.
I'm clear.
Okay, they're gonna give you a piece of paper and write with it, the date on it, sir.
Señor, le van a dar el papel con la fecha anotada.
All right, thank you, sir.
Gracias, señor.
All right, Ms. Toles, I believe that's all we have for you today.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
All right, you too, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
All right, deputies, I believe we just have the three women and then we'll start with the men with Mr. Danner. I show Miss Jocelyn Cole up first.
That's the
Are you Miss Cole?
Yes, sir.
All right, Miss Cole, if I could have you come up just a little closer so I can make sure I hear everything you're saying. All right. So again, are you Miss Cole?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Miss Cole, you are charged with 1 count of prostitution or pimping, 1 count of prostitution pandering, 1 count of interfering with custody, 1 count of contributing to the delinquency of a minor, 1 count of furnishing alcohol to a minor, and 1 count of trafficking of a person for labor and or servitude. Now, I'm going to tell you the bond amount for each one of those charges. For the pimping, your bond is $20,000. For the pandering, your bond amount is $20,000. For the interference with custody, your bond amount is $20,000. For the contributing to the delinquency of a minor, your bond amount is $20,000. For the furnishing of alcohol to a minor, your bond amount is $1,500. So the bondable amounts here today are $81,500. As to the trafficking of persons for labor or servitude, ma'am, I have not granted you bond this morning. You will have special conditions if at some point you are given bond on all these charges, and that is to stay away from this alleged minor, Miss Azia Scoville, Scovil, and you're also to stay away from the address where this was alleged to have happened, that being 3327 Wagner Place. Do you understand that, ma'am? Okay, now, because you are charged with felonies, I need you to understand you're going to have a court date coming up, 2 actually. The first is going to be your preliminary hearing for felonies, and that's going to be on February 19th at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom, okay? Now, also because you have a no bond status right now, you will get a bond hearing where they will review your bond to determine if they would like to change that bond or in any way modify anything else that is currently on there as of today. That bond hearing date is going to be February 23rd at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. So again, the first date is February 19th. The second date is going to be February 23rd at 8:30 a.m. Do you understand that, ma'am? Okay, now let me ask you, are you currently working, ma'am?
No, sir.
All right, so I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning. And they will be over there shortly within the next week or 2 once they're appointed to go ahead and help you with your case and be able to discuss anything with you. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, ma'am. Do you have any other questions for me?
Is there a way that I can get a pretrial?
Could you say that one more time?
Is there a way that I can get a pretrial?
You mean a preliminary hearing? What do you mean when you say pretrial?
Never mind.
Okay. All right, ma'am. Well, good luck to you, Ms. Cole. Thank you. That's all I have. Next up, I'm showing, is it a Miss Alicia Williams? Or is there someone else in between that?
Your Honor, be advised that we had an add-on last name Davis.
Yes. Yes, I got that information. I'm gonna try to do her next.
Okay.
Are you Miss Williams?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Williams, you're charged with one count of simple battery family violence for a bond amount of $3,500, one count of cruelty to children for a bond amount of $3,500. Your total bond amount is $7,000. Ma'am, you do have special conditions. That is to stay away from the alleged victim, Ms. Kelsey Gilliam. You are not allowed to return to that address, 4552, 355 Old Dixie Road. So ma'am, if that's somewhere you were residing prior to the date of this happening, you will, if you make your bond or when you make your bond, you'll have to contact the sheriff's office so that they can escort you there to get any items that belong to you until either one or two things happen. Your case is closed or your bond is modified. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes.
Now, ma'am, based on the information you provided to us this morning, I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer, okay?
Yes.
So they'll be able to help you on your case. Now, lastly, ma'am, you are charged with misdemeanors here. So you do have a right to your preliminary hearing that I mentioned earlier, or you can waive that right. What would you like to do this morning, ma'am? Yeah, so just to kind of go over it again real briefly with you, a preliminary hearing happens if you don't make your bond and you're still in custody. The hearing is where you are present, the officer is present, the judge is present, and it's a hearing where they look over the evidence that they have against you and determine if your case will move forward to the prosecutor or if the case will be dismissed. Now, ultimately, if the case is dismissed, it can be brought later by the prosecutor if they want to bring it back. Or in the alternative, you could tell me, Judge, I don't want the hearing, and I can send your case straight to the prosecutor, and it does make it move a little faster. Okay? Any idea which one you prefer to do?
I would.
All right. What's going to happen? And the deputy is there in front of you. I'm going to show that you want me to waive your hearing this morning. They're going to have a piece of paper there for you to sign. Once you sign that paper, ma'am, that's all I have for you this morning.
So I can burn out?
Well, yes, ma'am. Moving forward, if you or someone you know has either the full amount, $7,000, or you would like to use a bonding company, or lastly, a property bond, yes, ma'am, you'll be able to bond out.
All right, so I have no holds, anything on me?
Not that I'm aware of. Now, if there are some, ma'am, the deputies will be able to see that at the sheriff's.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I had Ms. Davis, I think, was next. Are you Ms. Davis? Are you Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Davis here, I'm showing you were added here just at the last moment, but you had been in custody, so we'll go ahead and hear you this morning. You're charged with one count of improper parking, one count of driving under the influence. The bond amount for the improper parking is going to be $500. The bond amount for the DUI is going to be $2,500 for a total bond of $3,000. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes.
Now, are you currently working, ma'am?
Yes.
Where do you work?
At a dermatology center.
Okay, and how much are you earning per month, ma'am?
I would say about 1,500.
Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer to help you on your case moving forward, okay? And that'll be free of charge for you. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, when we first started this, you have a right, ma'am, to what is called a preliminary hearing, or you have the right to waive that hearing, which means I'll send your case up to the prosecutor for them to review it and likely move your case a little faster. Would you like to have that hearing, ma'am, or waive that hearing?
Could you go back over it again? Because
A preliminary hearing is where you, the judge, police officer are present. It's not your trial, but it's where they're there to review all the evidence against you. If they believe there's enough evidence for your case to move forward, then it'll go to the prosecutor. Or you can tell me, Judge, I don't want that hearing. I'm going to get out, or I just want my case to move faster. And in which case, I'll skip over that hearing and you'll go right on up to the prosecutor for them to review it.
yeah, I just skip all that.
Okay. So I'm going to show here this morning, ma'am, that you are waiving your right to that hearing. So the deputy is going to have a piece of paper for you to sign there. And once you sign that paper, that's all I have for you this morning.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up should be Mr. Noriko Dam. Good morning. Are you Mr. Danner?
Alexander, good morning.
No. Okay, deputies, I advise we're gonna do Mr. Danner first,
Mr. Danner, they want Mr. Danner.
and then we'll do Mr. Alexander. Are you Mr. Danner?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Mr. Danner, I don't know if you can see him here, but your attorney is here this morning with you. You may not have had a chance to meet him already, but his name is Mr. Partridge. Can you see him?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I don't know if you could hear me in the back there, sir, but this is your first appearance. And we're just gonna go over your charges here this morning, and I'm gonna advise you how much your bond is, okay?
Yes, sir.
Let me advise you, you've got counsel present here, and so other than those things, if you have any questions or concerns, we might want to speak with him first or run them through him because you don't want to say anything that will harm you or hurt you moving forward, okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, sir, you are charged here, Mr. Danner, with you got 4 separate charges. 1 count of theft by taking, 1 count of armed robbery, another count of theft by taking, excuse me. And then lastly, 1 count of possession of a weapon during the commission of a crime. Now, in a review of his history, Mr. Partridge, at this point, we are denying bond. However, if at some point he is granted bond at a later date, he will have a special condition. So, Mr. Danner, I need you to hear this. If you are granted bond at a later date, your special condition will include for you to stay away from the alleged address, the address where this was alleged to have occurred, and that would be 6602 Georgia 85, Highway 85 in Riverdale. Do you understand that, Mr. Danner?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I see here that you have an attorney, and so Mr. Partridge, I'll show that he has hired his own attorney. As far as upcoming court dates, I've got 2 for you here, Mr. Partridge.
Yes, Judge.
The first is going to be February 19th
Yes,
for
sir.
his prelim at 8:30 a.m. And that will also be via Zoom.
Okay.
His bond hearing date will be February 23rd. That will also be at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom.
And Judge, do you know who the bond hearing would be would that be before a Superior Court judge, or is that going to be another magistrate?
It should be before Judge Mack. So what'll happen as soon as the court ends today,
Yes, sir.
I am tasked with sending this information over to Superior Court, specifically to Judge Mack, and I believe he individually hears them all himself.
Understood, Judge.
All right. Any questions, Mr. Partridge?
Judge, I know the magistrate court cannot set bond on the armed robbery. Is there any opportunity to get bond on the other 3 charges? So that we'll have just the 1.
I'll be honest with you. I was the particular judge who signed these arrest warrants. And I spoke with the officers at length about these. And so being intimately aware of the facts, I would not grant bond on any charges here today. I'll leave that to Judge Mack.
Understood, Your Honor. Thank
All
you,
right.
Judge. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Good luck to you both.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. So next up should be Mr. Alexander. All right. Are you Mr. Alexander?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Alexander, you are charged with 1 count of driving under the influence. Your bond amount is $2,500, sir. Are you currently working, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, so Mr. Alexander, I think the information you provided to us this morning, you're making about $1,800 a month, sir. So based on that information, I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning to help you on your case, okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, let me ask you this. I mentioned earlier about what is called a preliminary hearing. Remember, if you make your bond, you don't get that hearing. However, because you're charged with a misdemeanor, if you don't make your bond and you stay in custody, I can either grant you that hearing if you want it, or I can skip it altogether and send your case straight to the prosecutor. What would you like to do? Would you like to have that hearing or waive that hearing?
I'll waive it.
All right, so the deputy is there. I'm going to show you waived it this morning. They're going to have a piece of paper for you to sign. Once you sign that paper, sir, that's all I have for you this morning. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up will be Christopher Boss, B-A-U-S-E. All right, are you Mr. Boss?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Boss, you were charged with one count of obstruction or hindering of a display of a license tag for a $500 bond, one count of driving with no tag, also for a $500 bond, and one count of driving with a suspended license. And your bond amount there is $1,500 for a total bond of $2,500, sir. Now, because of the information you provided this morning, I am gonna appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning to help you on your case. Lastly, you are entitled to a preliminary hearing, or I can skip it, move your case along faster, and send you on up to the prosecutor. What would you like to do, sir? Would you like to have that hearing or waive that hearing?
Waive it.
All right, sir. So the deputies there, I'm gonna show you waived your hearing this morning. They're gonna have a piece of paper for you to sign. Once you sign that paper, sir, that's all I've got for you. Thank you. Next up should be Legend Bridges. Are you Mr. Bridges?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bridges, you are charged with one count of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Your bond amount, sir, is $25,000, sir. Now, because you are charged with a felony here this morning, you will have an upcoming preliminary hearing date. Mr. Bridges, that date is going to be February 19th at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. I gotta be here February 19th.
Unless you make your bond, you'll be in until that time. So again, it's $25,000. So you can either pay it in full, or you can use a bonding company where you'd have to pay 15%, which would roughly be about $3,500 to $4,000, $3,500 to $4,000.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Now, because of the information you provided, sir, this morning, I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer to assist you on your case. Okay.
All right.
All right, sir. That's all I have for you. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Marshall Davidson. Are you Mr. Davidson?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davidson, you are charged with one count of criminal trespass. Your bond amount, sir, is $3,000. You do have a special condition, sir, and that's going to be to stay away from this address of 8420 Sheridan Drive. Do you understand that?
Yes,
You
sir.
understand that? Okay. Now, are you working right now, sir?
No, sir.
All right, so I am going to grant you a court-appointed lawyer who will assist you on your case. Okay, sir. Well,
I'll represent
legally, I'm
myself.
going to go, sir, I'm going to grant you one. So whether you use them or not, I'm going to give you one.
okay.
Lastly, I spoke about a preliminary hearing. Would you like to have that hearing, or would you like to waive it so I can move your case along faster to the prosecutor?
You can move it along.
Okay, so I'm going to show that you waived your hearing here this morning. And so the deputies are going to have a piece of paper for you to sign this morning. Once you sign that piece of paper, sir, that's all I have for you.
So you couldn't tell me when my court date is, though?
No, sir, because you waived that hearing, your next court date will have to be determined by the prosecutor after they formally charge you. Okay? All right, next up, I have Brandon. And again, show that that gentleman just waived, deputy, so he'll need to sign his documents.
I'm clear.
All right, so next up, I show Mr. Eccles. Are you Mr. Eccles?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Eccles, you are charged with one count of driving with no license and one count of failure to yield. The no license charge carries a bond of $1,000. The failure to yield carries a bond of $500 for a total of $1,500. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have here, you said you're making about $800 a month. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so I am going to grant you a court-appointed lawyer this morning. Last question I have for you. You have a right to that preliminary hearing, or you can waive that hearing and I can move your case along faster to the prosecutor. Which would you like to do? Have that hearing or waive it?
Waive it.
All right, sir. So I'm going to show that you've waived your hearing here this morning. And so if you just give it a moment, the deputies there have something for you to sign. Once you sign that, sir, that's all I have for you. Good luck to you. Next up should be Mr. Gaston.
You're not staying?
No, right here, sir. Come on, step in front of the
No, do I stay in a jail?
All right, are you Mr. Gaston?
No, sir.
What's your name, sir?
Gibson.
Oh. Do we have a Morseed Gibbs or Gaston?
Next court date is gonna be determined by the prosecutor. Yeah, it's gonna just sound like that.
Gaston? Okay, if you want, if we have Mr. Gaston, he'll just be next. So you're Mr. Gibson. Mr. Gibson, I have you charged with one count of criminal trespass, for a bond amount. It was bonded at $2,500 and then drug-related objects at $500. However, sir, I'm gonna go ahead and we are going to give you release you here today. That does not mean, let me be clear, sir, that does not mean your case is being closed. Do you understand that? You're just being released today. Now, upon your release, you are still gonna have a special condition, and that's to stay away from the address where this was alleged to have happened. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And that address is going to be 150 Penny Road. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now the deputies, because you are being released today, are gonna have to show that you waived your hearing, so they're gonna have a document for you to sign. Are you working right now, Mr. Gibson?
No, sir.
All right, so I am gonna go ahead and grant you a court-appointed lawyer as well to help you on your case. Only other thing I will tell you, sir, Mr. Gibson, wherever you are living right now, please make sure that we have your your best address. So that when you are released, you make sure you get your next court date because it's gonna come to you in the mail. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next I have that Mr. Gaston. If we have him, if not, it should be Flavius Hope. And your last name, sir?
Gaston, Gaston.
All right, so Mr. Gaston, you're charged with one count of driving with a suspended license. Your bond amount is $1,500. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, are you working right now, sir?
Yes, sir.
How much are you making per month?
Maybe $3,000.
So I am unable, sir, based on that, to grant you a lawyer for free. So you'll have to get your own if you need one for your case. I spoke earlier about a preliminary hearing, sir. That's the right to that hearing for you, the judge, and the officer to review your case to decide if it's going to go to the prosecutor. Or I can just skip that hearing altogether and send it on up and move your case along faster. Which would you like me to do? Move it faster or have that hearing?
Have a preliminary hearing, Your Honor.
All right, so I'm gonna set that preliminary hearing date for you, sir. Your next court date will be, if you do not make bond, will be February 20th of 2024, and that's gonna be at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor. May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Is there any way I can get a signature bond? I just did 45 days. I didn't know that I had any issues. I just was in Clayton County for 2 months. I just got
No,
out.
sir, not at this time.
All right. And you
All
said
right.
my bond is 1,500?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next up, I have Flavius Hope. Are you Mr. Hope?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hope, you are charged with one count of simple battery family violence and one count of criminal trespass. The bond amount for the simple battery is $2,500. For the trespass, it's also $2,500 for a total bond of $5,000. You do have special conditions, sir, and that's to stay away from the alleged victim, Mr. Jamari White, and from the address of 235 Roberts Drive. So as I said earlier, sir, if that's somewhere you were living at the time this happened, you will have to, if you make your bond, get with the sheriff's office to get any items you'd like to get out of that property until your case is closed, okay?
Mhm.
Now, Mr. Hope, I spoke earlier about a preliminary hearing. You can have that hearing, and I can set the date for you, or you can waive it, and I can move your case a little faster and send it along to the prosecutor for a review. Which would you like me to do? Have the hearing or waive it?
Waive
I'm sorry?
it.
All right, sir. So I'm going to show that you've waived your hearing this morning. So the deputies will have something for you to sign. Once you sign that document, sir, showing you want to waive your hearing, that's all I've got for you, sir. Thank you. Next up should be Mr. Gregory Johnson. Mr. Johnson?
How you doing?
Good morning, sir. Mr. Johnson, you are charged with one count of reckless driving, sir. I reviewed your information here this morning, so I am going to go ahead and release you this morning. Now, I'm going to be clear, that does not mean that your case is closed today. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
It just means pending your next court date, you won't have to sit in custody. And so your new court date will come to you in the mail. So upon your release here today in the next few hours, please make sure that we have your best address so we'll know where this is to go, okay?
You have one on file?
The sheriff's office has it, so you want to check with them before you're released, okay?
Gotcha.
Now, let me ask you, are you currently working?
Yes.
How much are you earning per month?
Roughly $2,600 a month.
All right, so I'm not gonna be able to appoint you a lawyer, sir. So if you'd like a lawyer on your case, you'll have to get one on your own. Do you understand that?
What would I need a lawyer for?
I mean, you would like the assistance of one for your charge. Because this charge is still pending. You're still gonna have this charge. You're just not gonna have to sit in custody while your next court date's coming up, okay?
All right.
All right, now lastly, again, because you're being released today, sir, it is gonna show that you're waiving your right to your hearing. So the deputies will have a piece of paper for you to sign. And once you sign that piece of paper, you're good to go, sir.
Gotcha.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next up, I have, I believe it's Siracius Jones. Are you Mr. Jones?
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Jones, you're at charges here this morning. You're charged with 1 count of theft by extortion, 1 count of simple assault. The simple assault carries a bond of $2,500. The theft by extortion, a bond of $25,000, for a total bond of $27,500. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, because you are charged with a felony here, sir, you will have a preliminary hearing coming up. That's going to be February 19th of 2024, and that's going to be at 8:30 a.m., and that's going to be via Zoom. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Again, that's $27,500 is the bond on this case. And your next court date is going to be February 19th at 8:30 a.m., and that's going to be via Zoom. Do you have any questions for me, sir?
No.
All right, sir. Well, that's all I have for you. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next up should be Jared Payne. All right, are you Mr. Payne?
Yes, Your Honor, but before you get started, could I talk to you?
All right, so I will let you talk to me, but remember again what I said at the very beginning. We're only here to talk about what you're charged with and what your bond amount is. So if you're going to talk to me about your case, the facts of your case, what you believe is a possible defense, remember this is being recorded, that there are witnesses around you, and so you're likely subjecting yourself to people testifying against you. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead. What would you like to ask, sir?
First, I wanted to start off to let you know, I don't come from, a background of crime, wasn't raised in a area with crime. I don't even live in an area with crime, you know what I mean? I have a full-time job that I just got hired on that I've been praying for. I take care of my mother and my little brother. They don't even live nowhere in an area like this. I know I'm not supposed to be speaking on my case, but I want you to take this, under your mind, because you have the choice, to give me a second chance at life. You know what I mean? I'm young. Like I said, I got a mother and a brother. This all came from me. I worked so hard. I feel like I'm a 30-year-old man in a 20-year-old body. Just one day, I just decided to get up, take somebody randomly, take them out. On me returning, someone was there that wasn't supposed to be there, and I was just trying to protect myself. You know what I mean?
Okay, sir. Mr. Payne, you're getting into the facts. You don't want to say those things.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to let you know, like, I have a full-time job. I take care of my mom. My little brother has mental health. You know what I mean? Without me there to take care of the bills, the car note, or anything, they have nothing. They're already upset at me because of the situation. It looks very, very terrible. But today's the day that you have a second. Your choice today to give me a bond is like my second chance at life, and to help them out. That's all I wanted to let you know.
Okay. Well, Mr. Payne, please understand I appreciate you saying those things, but part of what I have tasked to do is also protect the people that it's alleged that you were involved in this altercation with as well. So it is in part about making sure that we rehabilitate you where possible, but also to ensure that we, while we give you a bond, that we protect these other individuals, these citizens that you were involved in this alleged crime with, the victims, and that we ensure that you return to court. And that's what I'm charged with. So let me say this, Mr. Payne.
Yes,
you have those 5 charges. The first is a criminal damage in the 2nd degree. Your bond amount is $5,000.
Yes,
You're
sir.
charged with possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. Your bond amount is $10,000.
Yes,
You're
sir.
charged with 1 count of reckless conduct. Your bond amount is $5,000. Lastly, you're charged with 1 count of aggravated assault against the victim, Ms. Sims, the female victim. And then you're charged with 1 count of aggravated assault against the male defendant, Mr. Carter. For each of those charges, sir, your bond amount is $75,000 per charge. Your total bond, sir, is $170,000. Should you make bond, sir, you are to stay away from both the alleged victims, Mr. Eric Carter and Miss Navia Sims. You're also to stay away from the alleged location where this happened, 4671 Courtney Drive. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Now, your next court date, sir, because you're charged with felonies, if you do not make your bond, is going to be February 19th at 8:30 a.m., and that's going to be via Zoom. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Again, that's February 19th, 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. And I advise you of your special conditions, sir. Good luck to you. Next up, I'm showing Jeremy Robinson. Are you Mr. Robinson?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Robinson, give me one moment here.
We came from 7. Where you going? I don't think you know where you're going.
Give me just 1 second here, sir. I'm just signing some paperwork. All right, so Mr. Robinson, you are charged, sir, with 1 count of public drunk, 1 count of obstruction of an emergency telephone call, 1 count of aggravated assault, 1 count of disorderly conduct. The public drunk carries a bond amount of $1,000, the obstruction $2,500, the disorderly conduct $1,500, and then lastly, the aggravated assault, sir, you have not been granted bond, as I find that you were on probation at the time of this matter in Cobb County. So the bondable offenses, your bond amount is $5,000, but there's a no bond on the felony assault. Now, at some point, should you be granted bond, you do have special conditions, and they are to stay away from the alleged incident where this occurred at 7085 Mount Zion Circle, and then also to stay away from the alleged victim, a Miss Ashley Ferguson. Do you understand that, sir?
Sir, but I got a question, sir. They
Okay.
charge me, they saying that it's public drunkenness, but I asked to actually take the test. They didn't grant me the test at all. I wasn't drinking at all. I left that bar. I was actually over the women that were drinking.
Sir, hold on. So I don't know if you heard me earlier, so I'm just going to repeat this for your benefit. But remember when I said this earlier, I advised you all, you don't want to talk to me about your case. This is not the arena for you to do that. And so you're making statements that can do nothing but hurt you down the line. And so I'm going to advise you, you might want to stop talking right now, because remember, this is being recorded. There are witnesses around you, not only other inmates, but the deputies as well. And so, I understand that you want me to take into consideration those things, but all you do is you're providing evidence that can be used against you at a later time. So, what I'm going to advise you is that the person you want to tell that information to is going to be your lawyer when you speak to your lawyer at a later time. You understand that, sir? Is that a yes?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Now, because of the information you provided, sir, I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning, so you will have a lawyer to assist you. And your next court date, sir, you got 2 coming up. Your first is going to be February 19th. That's going to be your preliminary hearing at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. And then your bond hearing, since you are on a no bond status, that's going to be February 23rd at 8:30 a.m. And that's going to be via Zoom as well. So your first date, February 19th, your second, February 23rd, both at 8:30 a.m., both via Zoom. And your bondable amount is $5,000 and a no bond on the ag assault, sir. Good luck to you.
You know where it is? I'm sorry, where it is? 7.
And are you Mr. Souter?
Yes, sir.
Or I'm sorry, give me 1 second, sir.
Souter.
You are Souter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Deputies, do we have an Artika Shoemake? If so, we can do that person afterwards.
Hold on, wait 1 second.
Was Mr. Shoemake there?
Yes, he's right here, sir.
Okay, are you Mr. Shoemake?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Shoemake, you're charged with 1 count of driving under the influence of alcohol, 1 count of open container, and 1 count of impeding traffic flow. The DUI carries a bond of $2,500, the open container $500, and the impeding traffic $500 for a total bond of $3,500. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Now, the information you provided here earlier today says that you are currently working. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're earning about $3,500 a month?
Yes, sir.
You said yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for this charge, sir, you will have to hire your own lawyer, okay?
All right.
Now, lastly, because you're charged with misdemeanors, you have a right to a preliminary hearing, or you have the right to waive that hearing if you so choose. Would you like to have that hearing, or would you like me to send your case directly on up to the prosecutor to speed the process up and waive it?
No, I'm not waiving. I already had it here.
Okay, no problem. So your preliminary hearing date, sir, is going to be February 23rd. Excuse me, not February 23rd, February 20th at 8:30 a.m. And that's going to be via Zoom, okay? So if you don't make your bond, February 20th, 8:30 a.m. via Zoom will be your next court date for your preliminary hearing. If you do make your bond, you know, it's automatically waived. And so you would need to just make sure that whatever address you have on file here at the jail is the correct address so that you'll make sure you get your next court date in the mail, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up should be then Mr. Souter.
So, yeah.
All right, are you Mr. Souter?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Souter, you are charged with 1 count of battery family violence for a bond amount of $3,500, 1 count of aggravated assault for a bond of $25,000, 1 count of prostitution pimping for a bond amount of $20,000, 1 count of furnishing alcohol to a minor for $1,500, 1 count of pandering prostitution for a bond amount of $20,000, 1 count of interference with custody for a bond amount of $20,000, 1 count of solicitation of sodomy, and 1 count of trafficking of a person for labor or servitude. For those final 2 charges, sir, your bond amount, I'm placing you on the no bond status. So for the bonds that you can receive and did receive a bond for, that bond amount for those charges, the total is $94,500. Yes, 94,000, excuse me, 94,500, and then it's a no bond status for the final 2. Now, if you are at a later time granted bond, I need you to understand that you do have special conditions. They are to stay away from the alleged victim, the minor child, Azia Scoville, Scovil, and they're also to stay away from the address where this was alleged to have happened, 3327 Wagner Place. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, because you aren't working, I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer that will help you free of charge on your case. Your next court date, you've got 2 coming up. It's going to be February 29th for your preliminary hearing, and it's going to be February 23rd for your bond hearing. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions of me?
No, sir.
All right, good luck to you, sir. Next up should be Mr. Dwayne Sterling.
All the way down the end of the hallway, last thing on the right.
Are you Mr. Sterling?
Yes.
Mr. Sterling, you are charged with 1 count of speeding, 1 count of driving with a canceled license. The speeding carries a bond amount of $2,500. The driving with a suspended or canceled registration, carries a bond amount of $500. Your total bond amount, sir, is $3,000. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Are you currently working, sir?
Yes, sir.
How much are you earning per month?
2,000.
All right, so are you have any children?
No.
Okay, so you will have to hire your own lawyer if you desire a lawyer for your case. Because you are charged with misdemeanors, you have a right to a preliminary hearing, or you can waive that hearing, sir. What would you like to do? Have that hearing or waive it?
I'll have the hearing.
All right, so your preliminary hearing date, sir, will be February 20th, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Now, remember again, if you make your bond, your hearing is automatically waived. If you don't, and you're still in custody, that'll be your next court date, okay?
Okay.
Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, I've got Christopher Tanner, and then after Tanner should be Robert Taylor.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Are you Mr. Tanner?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tanner, you are charged with one count of pedestrian under the influence, sir. We're gonna go ahead and after a review of this, release you here this morning.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't mean your case is over, just means until your case is concluded, you will not have to sit in custody, okay?
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Do you have any questions about that portion?
No, sir.
Now, what I'm showing with the information you provided, you are not currently working.
No,
I
sir.
am gonna go ahead and appoint you a lawyer this morning.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
because you are being released, you are effectively waiving your right to a preliminary hearing. So I am gonna have to ask, the deputy is gonna have a piece of paper for you to sign. You'll sign that piece of paper and then you should be released in a few hours.
Perfect, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Next up should be Mr. Robert Taylor.
What's your name?
Christopher Tanner.
Are you Mr. Taylor?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Mr. Taylor, you are charged with one count of simple assault and one count of theft by extortion. The simple assault carries a bond amount of $2,500. The theft by extortion, sir, I am not permitted to grant you bond on that case because I'm showing that you're currently on probation out of Clayton County. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, but please keep in mind, you don't want to talk to me about your charges. Go ahead.
I'm on my case, like, who am I charged for? Like, I didn't know I had the charge, sir, to be honest.
So what I'm showing here, and again, please don't comment on it, but what I'm showing here is there's an allegation that you and one of the other individuals who I spoke with earlier were threatening another inmate and causing him and his family to send you money via Cash App. You were threatening to harm him. Okay?
This is my first time hearing about this. I just heard about this today, sir.
I understand, but again, this would be information for you to tell your lawyer, okay?
All right.
Now, I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer on your case, free of charge, so you won't have to pay for that. You will have 2 upcoming court dates. The first is gonna be the 23rd, your bond hearing. Your preliminary hearing will be the 19th of February. So your preliminary hearing, the 19th of February, 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Your bond hearing is gonna be February 23rd, 4 days later, 8:30 a.m. and that's also gonna be via Zoom. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. I believe that's all I have for you, sir. Good luck to you. And then deputies, that should believe our last inmate that we discussed.
No. We still got one more, Your Honor. Wilson.
Who are you showing?
Wilson.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I took him out of order. Yep. Trishawn, are you Mr. Wilson?
Yeah. All the way down.
Mr. Wilson, you are charged with one count of simple assault and one count of theft by extortion as well. Your bond amounts on the simple assault is going to be, or your bond amount is going to be $2,500. On the simple assault, on the theft by extortion, your bond amount is going to be $25,000 for a total bond amount of $27,500. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I understand that you're not currently working, sir, so I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning that's going to help you on your case. And so your next court date is going to be for your preliminary hearing, and that's going to be February 19th at 8:30 a.m., and that's going to be via Zoom. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's all I have for you, sir. Good luck to you. All right, now I believe that should be everyone but the last one.
Here's Mr. Walker, Your Honor.
All right, are you Mr. Walker?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Walker, you are charged with one count of reckless conduct, one count of aggravated assault by strangulation, one count of simple battery. The simple battery charge, sir, I do have to give you a bond, so your bond's $1,000. Excuse me. Your bond amount is $4,000. As to the reckless conduct, your bond amount is $2,500 or a total bond of $6,500 on those bondable offenses. On that aggravated assault, sir, you have been denied bond. I need you to understand that means you will be in custody until such time as your upcoming court dates. Your next court date will be February 19th of 2024, and that's going to be at 8:30 a.m. and that's going to be via Zoom. That's going to be your preliminary hearing. Do you understand that?
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay. Your court date after that, you'll be given a bond hearing where they'll be able to review your bond again. and that's gonna be February 23rd, 4 days later at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Do you understand that?
Is that February 23rd?
Yes, so February 19th for your prelim, February 23rd for your bond hearing, and both will be via Zoom.
And you said that I don't get a bond for the.
Aggravated assault, no, sir. You do not. And then lastly, I understand that you were working prior to this. About how much were you making per month, sir?
Probably about, say like 30, I mean like 3K.
Okay. Based on that, sir, I am not going to grant you a lawyer for your charge. You will have to hire your own if you so desire for this case. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. That's all I have for you, Mr. Walker. Good luck to you. All right. Deputy, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
I sent an email a while back. I'm actually up here at the courthouse because my power went out. And
Yes,
so I don't know if you all have access to the folks over in the at the front desk, but I was just trying to let them know if anybody needs this paperwork sooner than later. I left my cell phone number in the emails so you all can call me to come get it if you need it sooner.
What paperwork?
Just the paperwork that is sent out, like for the jail, all that jail paperwork
Oh, yes, sir.
for the warrants and everything. So I don't know if they saw it, but if you happen to be in touch with those folks at the desk.
Yes, sir. I'll let them know.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. You have a